And we're live.
All right. I am sharing into my feed. Share it to your feed. This is Back Row Pastors.
And you know, they just updated the app, so has that made it easier or harder for you?
Updated what app?
Like Facebook just updated that.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'm having to make more steps, and I don't like that.
I feel like it's easier to switch between like a business page and your personal page,
That
which is nice.
Easier, yes.
That's a nice feature, but yeah, I don't know if I'm quite sold. I get 2 notifications now, like if somebody likes something on the church page, I get that, and then it's like sends to my personal. Like I just got 2 notifications that Scott Wilmore just shared this video.
See, I did. Look at me. I'm going.
Man.
I don't.
Would you describe yourself as tech savvy now?
No, I'm not, and I don't like. We were just talking about, which, by the way, I don't know if he's on here yet. Welcome, Hunter Schneider. It's his first day as our youth pastor here at our church.
Official first day.
The Word Community Church, if you don't have a church home. But yeah, it's his first official day, and we were discussing the programs that we have. Mm-hmm. And anytime you hire new people, especially younger generation people, they come in with their new systems and stuff like that.
Sure.
And one of the joys of having the position that I have, which you know me, we don't play in that position world a lot, is I'm not going to learn any new systems. And so when like Facebook updates their stuff, it really frustrates me because I like the systems that I use.
You've gotten used to it.
I've gotten used to it, and I've become the guy who's not great at changing, especially in technology world.
Oh, sure.
I'll change in church world, but like technology world, no, I don't. MailChimp changed their format, and I don't. Pastor's Line changed their format. So everything that I use to communicate with people has updated. Apparently 2023 is hey, we need to update and change everything year for all tech companies. That's why they're laying off everybody, because they're trying to change everything.
They're trying to become faster, more efficient. All of those, good things in
faster,
business.
More efficient doesn't equal better.
That's true. That is true. Sometimes you just got to go back to the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it. So all of you guys watching, tell us who you are, where you're from, in the chat. I like to, we've got some from Etowah County watching. I've got some from the jail watching. I've got some from, so I like to know where people are watching from.
I don't know if I can say I have anybody from anywhere watching.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do. You got people from Texas watching.
Well, I'm sure they're not watching for me. They like you more than they like me. That's what it is.
Speaking of Texas, see, dude, look. Okay, so my New Year's resolution was to be better on my time.
Uh-huh.
And I'm ahead of the game this week. And so I actually walked in here with a list of things to talk about.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't usually do that. For those who are watching, we've titled it Back Row Pastors, 2 unqualified pastors with observation from the back row.
We discussed this in length yesterday we're getting ready to upload all these to all your major podcast forums, and then going from there. If anybody has any insight on how to be live on like Spotify, give us a ring. That'd be great.
I think that'd be great. Hey, Berger, what's going on, man? So my buddy from C of O back in Missouri, you're talking circa late 90s. He's watching from ice-covered Illinois, and we do. We got a big ice storm coming across America, drilling your peeps in Texas.
Yeah, my mom has lost quite a few trees already.
Yeah, we never really got snow in Texas. It was kind of South Texas, but I guess South Central. What is College Station? It's kind of south.
It's central. Well, yeah.
South Central. I don't. It sounds like we're from the hood. South Central Texas.
It's Central Texas.
Central Texas. But we would get those ice storms. Never got snow, but the ice storms would kill us. It was awful.
Oh yeah, and it's been weird ever since I've moved away. They've gotten snow and ice. My mom's gotten more snow, than she's ever had in her entire time living in Texas in these past 5 years.
So would you say that the term climate warming, global warming, is an accurate term?
What, didn't they say it was inaccurate and they changed it to climate change?
Correct. That's what it is, because the globe's not actually warming, it's cooling.
Sure.
And we're having some pretty harsh winters.
We were We were having a pretty mild winter until just recently.
Well, my daughter texted me a couple of days ago. She's looking at moving back to Alabama, and she was like, "I'm sick of it being cold." And I was like, "It got cold here. It was in the 40s."
Yeah,
She's up there in like frostbite weather,
sure.
and they've been getting drilled with the ice. Bunny's watching from downtown Yellow Creek. Population of 3 buildings, I think. But yeah, like we've had a really mild winter.
Yeah, well, mild winters are great for crawfish season. I don't know what this cold snap's going to do. I don't know if it's rolled all the way into Louisiana, but
I'm gonna get my first sacks of crawfish Super Bowl weekend, February 12th weekend.
ooh, wow,
So I'm getting it out of the spillway. It's coming from South Louisiana, Zachary area.
wow.
Yeah, they're gonna meet me in
that's
Jackson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're gonna meet me in Jackson. He said he sends his truck up to Nashville as well.
Really?
Yeah, so
Interesting.
He may be even closer that weekend. But crawfish season is one of the most wonderful times of the year. Everybody else gets excited about Christmas.
Sure.
I get excited about crawfish season.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's the lobster of the spillway.
It is the lobster of the spillway. Speaking of Texas, which most people will not understand this has anything to do with Texas. So we do keep cut. And you've given me some lists. It was a very controversial week last week.
I'm surprised at how controversial it was.
The amount of people that talked to me throughout the week about barbecue and why I was wrong. Apparently, cutting out chicken and smoked sausage was not.
The sausage would be a tough one for me to cut.
Yeah, but most people agreed with me that just pulled pork barbecue is just kind of like an add-on.
Sure.
I feel like that's universal. Nobody gets excited about it, but everybody has it.
I feel like it's one of those that if they have a good pulled pork, like that the rest of their food's going to be good. It's kind of how I feel about it.
I got you.
Like it's like an entryway barbecue.
Entryway barbecue.
Like they used to say, you have your entryway drugs. This is entryway barbecue.
It is. It's pretty worthless. It's
Yeah,
kind of like coleslaw. It's kind of a side item.
why
You always
people-
put it on everything.
I've never coleslaw is just no.
I put
I've never
coleslaw
liked
on my barbecue. I
No,
feel like
thanks.
two worthless things combined for a beautiful sandwich.
No,
No,
no. Coleslaw. Are you a mayonnaise or vinegar guy with your coleslaw?
Oh, mayonnaise.
Yeah.
I'm not a big vinegar guy. I'm not a big vinegar barbecue sauce guy, although that's really popular here. That's kind of the
yeah.
Memphis.
Yep.
Memphis. I'm kind of more of a mustardy barbecue guy, more like
Sure.
Carolina barbecue, but it's
A little
just
sticky.
yeah. I do like the white barbecue.
I do, too.
It's kind of an Alabama
It-
thing,
we-
deep south thing.
You brought us here to Birmingham for a conference one time, and that was the first time I saw white barbecue sauce.
Yeah,
And I was
prefer
impressed with
white.
it. It's good stuff. Like, pleasantly surprised.
That drew a lot. That should move us in the rankings. You are posting now, so we are on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all of those. Is that accurate?
No, I'm not yet.
Not yet. This week, maybe.
For sure.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to say for sure. For sure-ish.
So we're going to be on all of those platforms, which means we will now be ranked.
We will now be ranked.
We will be ranked. I want to keep up with the rankings and see. So I need all of you watching, if you could figure out how to share it on your social media. We had over 300 views last week, so we've got to at least be ranked
Apparently, if you
second
talk,
to last. I want to move out of the gutter.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, how do you? Are you saying ranked among all podcasts, or are you
No,
saying
just our
ranked
genre.
among? Because, as I was selecting our genre, obviously I picked Christian. So
Yeah, I think in the Christian genre, so our description is unqualified because we sit in the back row.
yeah,
Which I give my parents. It's funny to me, church seating hierarchy. So we
Sure.
talk about all things from politics to religion and Jesus and food and sports and all of that. But I find it amusing to watch as a pastor seating on Sundays.
sure.
Grew up in a church that everybody sat in the exact same spot.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the funniest comments I heard all of last year was a question posed to you by a guy in the back row that asked where he could seat. What was funny to me, or where he could sit, what was funny to me is there wasn't anybody else in there. He wasn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't,
Oh, yes.
it was before
Yeah.
service, so he
Oh.
had come in early. And he said something to the effect of, "I'm not taking anybody's seat, am I?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I find that hilarious, which told me immediately he grew up in Deep
Sure.
South Church because, people have their seats and
Yeah, I had talked to him the week after, and he said that his family had sat on the same row, and it went like grandparents, parents, like him, and then his kids. And as people passed away, you just moved left.
so you got promoted in age hierarchy.
Is it a promotion? I don't know.
Or you're just like closer to death, I guess.
I guess.
Either way you look at that.
The age sat on the left side,
Age sat on the left and you kind of worked your way down.
and yeah, it just kind of worked that way.
Well, we had plaques, on pews,
Well, you wanted-
and those family pews that had plaques on them.
You want grandparents farthest away from young kids in church,
Yes.
because that's like a, pinch their ear.
Oh my gosh, my dad had this great way that he could put his arm around your shoulders, and then quietly
Just
just
this.
grab that ear, that area right at the base of your neck,
Yeah.
that let you know if you open your mouth again, you're dead when you get home. So, but we got a group that sits in the back row, and I mock them every week. And my parents are part of that.
Sure.
They sit in the back row, which if I walked into a church, I would find the back row, the back corner, easiest, closest to the door. But I call them all my back row sinners. And it's actually the more wisdom older group
Sure.
of our church that are probably far beyond me in spirituality.
Oh, sure.
But I just laugh with them because they all sit back there on the back row, and so that's where the name came up, is back row pastors. And so, speaking of keep cut,
Yep, keep cut.
I didn't use 8. I couldn't. So I told you last week we were going to keep cut. You've given
Yeah.
me the past 2 weeks, so I'm going to give you a list.
I feel like I'm a better keep cutter, and you're better at sorting through it.
At sorting through it. Well, I just wanted to do it because I wanted to create controversy.
Well, I don't think there'll be any.
Well, what it's going to allow me to do is see what the age demographic is of our listening audience.
Sure.
Because I've said bands, not singers,
Yeah.
not singers.
Looking at some of these, I go,
Bands. And I said that because you asked for like a certain decade.
I did.
It's not really possible.
I mean, it is.
It's not, because
Literally, you could have
great
said, hey, here's the great
bands-
90s bands.
no, great bands transcend decades.
I mean, that's true. That's a good, fair point.
It is. And when I Googled, because
Like-
I actually spent some time on this.
Like, some of these, I look at them and I go, okay, they definitely had cassettes.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
They probably had an 8-track. And then some of them, I go, for sure, no cassettes, only CDs for a few of these.
Yeah, and so I did hit each decade. I hit
Yeah.
the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and aughts. So I hit each decade. However, most of these, with the exception of probably 2, have transcended multiple decades.
Sure.
And I pulled from each genre.
Yeah, I noticed.
Because when you talk about bands, I couldn't go with 8 because my first Google was best bands of all time.
Hey, when I come up with these, I don't Google.
Well, I don't know a lot of the modern ones because I stopped in the 80s.
You stopped in
Kind of
the...
90s.
I guess some of those, all right.
Yeah.
If you say so.
And you'll see as we go through these. So I've got Keep Cut,
Yep.
bands, and then on the back I have listed my Keep to see if we agree on music.
I feel like we're probably pretty close, but we'll have a little bit different taste.
There's your Keep Cut.
Oh, keep cut. You want me to keep or cut first?
I want you to cut. There's got to be one on there that immediately you look at and you go, nope.
Immediately, the one that I go, this is for sure my first cut. Rolling Stones. Never liked them. Never liked them. European, no thanks.
Well, and the reason they're on there, I'm not a big, I see their tongue on a
Sure.
lot of T-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
They are hugely marketed.
Yeah.
Jeff Holman says we have lost audio.
Well,
Do we have audio?
I mean, everything I'm seeing is showing audio.
We're showing audio?
Yeah.
It's showing that we got audio.
I don't
Yeah,
see
it
it.
might be a Facebook thing.
I
Did you
don't
mute it? Did you mute us? Jeff?
I don't see anything.
I can tell you real quick.
Oh, I guess I do have it right here.
I can just turn it up.
Yep, we're good.
Jeff, I think it's, oh, there it is.
It's back.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, Cutting Rolling Stones.
Cutting the Rolling Stones. I don't know any of their songs.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm trying to think of a couple of them. If they were played, I would go, oh, that's the Rolling Stones. But I've never, like, there's nothing that makes me go, that's, like, if I had all of these in the CD format or on a Spotify or something, they would not be on my list to play.
I feel like I'm a classic rock guy, and I would recognize some Rolling Stones songs if they came on the radio, but not know that they were the Rolling Stones. But the reason I put them on there is every single list, every one of them had them in the top 3. And so I just put them on there.
I get that.
It's a
I get that.
70s-ish, okay?
Yeah.
So who's your keep? When you look at this list, your first keep?
Like my first keep, it's kind of down to 2. So I grew up, like, I enjoyed heavy metal, and I liked a lot of hard rock, and so Metallica would be my first keep.
Keep.
And they have come, if you watched any of Stranger Things, they have come back.
They have made a great old people comeback.
They made a comeback.
And when you talk about transcend decades.
Now, they are frustrating to me because I was one of those who had Napster, and they are, they were a proponent in shutting down Napster. And so I guess the FBI will come after me now. But, yeah. So I don't care for that side of it, but their music, always enjoyed.
So if you're a pretty heavy metal, and I feel like they've gone back and forth a little bit. They were extreme heavy when they started, and then they hit this span of you can understand the words kind of music.
Oh, sure.
And then they went back, but they are 80s, 90s, and even currently today.
Oh, well, yeah, I listened to a lot of Metallica back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. It was one of the bootlegged musics that I listened to. I got it from my sister. She had I remember
what was the first
cassette?
What was the first cassette you ever owned?
First cassette I ever owned.
Or 8-track, I guess.
8-track. I caught the tail end of 8-tracks.
Oh.
I did. We had 8-tracks. As a matter of
fact. What's the first one you got with your own money? How about
with
that?
My own
your
money.
Own album with your own money.
It would be, I believe, Alabama.
Yep.
The group Alabama. With my own money. My sister, the first cassette I remember seeing and listening to was Metallica and Megadeth.
Oh, yeah.
Because my sister had them hidden, and she showed me, and I thought, oh, my gosh, I'm going to go to hell.
Yep.
But I remember the 8-tracks. Mom and Dad had a lot of 8-tracks.
Oh, yeah.
Duran 8-track. I remember that. They were kind of a band. But, man, I'll age myself. I grew up listening at Christmas time to record players. I still remember my parents had a vinyl record collection. They had the Eagles.
Yeah, my mom had a massive collection.
Yeah, like I remember as a young kid listening to Barbara Mandrell, Charlie Daniels, the Eagles, Sandy Patty. I mean, I could go down the list. But so I really hit the tail end of records. 8-tracks weren't that they didn't really splash huge.
Sure.
I feel like it's the iPod of the early days.
Well, iPod. I mean.
Or the beeper.
The beeper. Yeah, it could be the beeper.
The beeper. Did you have a beeper?
No. No, I did not.
I had a beeper. Thought it was the coolest thing since sliced bread.
My sister had a beeper, but it was phased out by the time I got, I guess, of age to have some type of. I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 18.
Yeah, I don't even remember the cell phone. I think I got one in the military. Probably was the Razor. This first one I remember. Still, I would use the Razor. Best cell phone ever made. All right, next cut.
It's got to be Red Hot Chili Peppers for me.
Red Hot Chili Peppers. They are the 90s and aught.
I know. They were. I didn't like them in the 90s. I don't like them now.
Wow.
Wasn't my.
Just spanked Red Hot Chili Peppers out the door.
Yeah,
they were huge.
They are. Well, they still are huge. And I'm not saying that if they came on, I would turn it off. But I don't. I mean, Californication and all the other stuff that they came out with, it just never gave me the fizz.
Rob Weiss agrees with you on Metallica.
Yeah.
He says Master of Puppets. I'm more of a Ride the Lightning guy.
Sure.
Dave Matthews Band Hunter did not.
Dave Matthews Band. Oh, come on. Even
That,
worse
that
than
didn't make my list.
that would have for
and
sure been first
you're
cut.
about to be muted if you bring
For
any
sure would
really
have been
bad
first cut.
bands to the table.
Golly.
That can't even compete in this list. All right, what's your next keep? So we
I gotta-
have cut Rolling Stones
Stones
because
and-
you are anti-British.
Well, that's true.
And you have cut the Red
Something
Hot Chili Peppers, which may or may not be controversial to some of our.
I feel like younger audience.
Yeah, I feel
You
like
know,
that's your millennial world.
One that
So you kept Metallica.
So, one that I have like a fanboy status for that I've always enjoyed, and I continue to listen to their stuff, and the girls listen to their stuff. I'm going to keep the Beach Boys.
Yes, absolutely. See, that was one that I bet when you looked at this list, you went, huh.
No, I went, that one's going to be tough to cut.
Well, when you think about
Like-
bands, everybody
sure.
thinks rock bands.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Beach Boys, again, transcending.
Down to Kokomo.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
They are the happiest band
Absolutely.
in America. You can't cut the Beach Boys or
Yeah,
you're un-American.
It would have been really hard to cut them.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
see,
got
this
another
is
cut.
where.
So we've kept Metallica. We've
Yeah.
kept the Beach Boys.
And what a wide
We've-
range. A cut?
Yeah, you got a cut.
Man. I feel like of this list, this is going to be a tough go for the next cut. Let's go with, I'm going to go with the Beatles.
Oh, see, I
Good.
think I'm seeing a trend with you. You're not a European rock band guy.
I'm not a European, I'm an American guy, so I don't, look, hey, more power to you if you want a king or queen ruling over you, but here in America, we love our freedom, and the Beatles don't scream freedom.
You just cut. You realize you cut
I did.
the greatest band of all time, the GOAT of bands,
They
according
do
to every
say
list I saw.
Every list. I know, well,
Every
but
list.
And compared to this list, I go, they're just one of them. It was an easier cut for me than some of the others will be later.
See, I agree. When I put them on there, I had to put them and the Rolling Stones, but neither one of them. Now, I do remember some records of Beatles and Bee Gees. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Bee Gees.
Oh, yeah.
That's,
Oh, yeah.
But I remember them in the records, but my parents never really listened to them much.
Sure.
I'm not an English rock like U2. I'm not.
I mean, I listened to U2 back in the day, but if they were on this list, they'd probably get cut too.
Now I'll say this: Shayna Butt's Motley Crue. It didn't
Oh,
make my
yeah.
list, but I had to be very careful because I would have put all 10 in the 80s and 90s. Motley Crue, AC/DC.
See, you would have been more on the hard rock side. I
Oh,
listened
yeah,
to a lot more grunge and punk and like ska growing up. That's what I preferred, but
See, I listened to a lot of country and Christian growing up in my parents' house, but once I went into the Army and I was raging against
Sure.
everybody, I was a big 80s hair band guy.
like the first album I bought was Green Day Dookie.
Oh, yeah, I almost put Green Day on.
Green Day would have been,
I almost put Green Day
Yeah.
on here because they again, I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
That cassette, and it rocketed up every chart. They were
Oh,
number
sure.
one for a long time.
Oh yeah, that was first album I ever bought. Had that CD, and wore it out.
Yep.
Wore it out.
All right, so
Yeah.
you have kept Beach Boys, you have
Kept
kept
Metallica.
Metallica. You got to keep a third one. We've cut all the European ones and the millennial one out. So
I would think. See, we've kept Beach Boys and Metallica. I feel like we got to keep like a country band,
okay.
and so it's between Whiskey Myers, Zach Brown, and Leonard Skinner. And I think I'm gonna keep Leonard Skinner.
Okay, that amuses me in the fact that you think Leonard Skinner is country.
Country rock? No.
He is definitely Southern rock, and I,
Me growing up, that would have been country.
That would have been country.
Country.
Yeah, they.
Yeah.
It was a 70s, 80s, early 80s, but Sweet Home Alabama is the national anthem.
As
And it is the.
yeah, I used to have some Leonard Skinner shirts and a bunch of their albums, and so
Yeah, I would still
It's just
wear a
one of
Leonard
those.
Skinner shirt,
I
but
would too.
I can't find them anymore.
No, they're not.
It's all the 80s bands now. Here's what made me realize I was old. I turned it to the classic rock station the other day, and it was all 80s.
Oh yeah.
Like now, Skinner and
they're
Zeppelin and all them are more oldies.
They're starting to play like '90s stuff on the
Yep.
old
older
school
rock.
radio, old rock, classic rock radio, and I just go,
So that would put like Beatles, Rolling Stone, and Bee Gees in the oldies.
oh, for sure.
In the oldies
That would
category.
be what was it, Don Holiday and
Oh yeah.
Bye Bye Miss American Pie.
Yeah, they don't know good
Yep.
music anymore. So we've kept Skinner, we've kept the Beach Boys, we've kept Metallica.
Yep.
We have thank you, Rob. That is Southern rock. And for those of you who don't know who Whiskey Myers is, it is a red dirt band.
Yep.
They are out of Palestine, Texas, which
Yep.
is why I put them on there because I wanted to see if you'd cut a hometown band.
Well, my next cut's gonna be between Aerosmith or Kiss.
Oh,
I'm trying to think.
Oh,
I'm
you're
going.
gonna offend me if you choose wrong here. That's a tough one. They're both in the same genre, both in the same decade, both have the same amount of hits.
I don't know about the same amount of hits, but
You think Aerosmith got more?
probably. If I had to pick which one had more, I feel like Aerosmith had more hits. Kiss probably had a bigger following.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But I think I'm gonna keep Aerosmith and cut Kiss.
There you go. I agree with that assessment because one of the greatest movies of all time,
Oh sure.
Armageddon,
Yep.
has Aerosmith. I wore that CD out. Or it's not
Oh,
a
yeah.
CD. I wore that. What do they call that when it's all a movie?
I don't know.
Soundtrack.
Soundtrack.
I
yes.
wore that soundtrack out.
Yes.
That soundtrack and Top Gun soundtrack and Cocktail soundtrack I have worn out.
Apparently, I have offended some who said keep Kiss, bye bye Aerosmith.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm like. That's going to be a big one if you're an '80s rock. It's those would definitely be two competing.
Yes.
So we've kept Skinner, the Beach Boys, Aerosmith.
Metallica.
We've cut all British,
Oh yeah, get rid of
Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Kiss. All right, let's cut your last
Last
one.
one.
And it boils down to a choice between Whiskey Myers and Zac Brown Band.
Yeah. And I know what you want me to pick, but I'm going with Whiskey Myers. I prefer Red Dirt over Toes in the Sand.
Oh, Georgia versus Texas. Texas just took them out.
I'm just saying.
I
If I had-
prefer Whiskey Myers.
Really? I'm
Yes, I
surprised
do.
by that.
Like music wise,
You
I
used
do
to
love
be-
me some
yeah.
Zac Brown.
Yeah.
I-
Zach Brown's not one of those that I'm gonna like turn off the radio. Same like Kit. The ones I would turn off the radio: Rolling Stones, no thanks. Red Hot Chili Pepper, turning them off. Beatles, I would listen to some Beatles, but they're not going to be in my top. Out of this list, I feel like they just get beat out.
So here was my key.
Wow.
The only one we differed on is I kept Zac Brown Band and Whiskey Myers, but that lands me. I'm more into that country southern rock, and
You dropped Metallica.
I did. I dropped Metallica. I kept
Yeah.
basically I kept
What was your favorite band growing up?
my favorite band growing up would have been Alabama. Yeah,
See, I was Nirvana.
yeah. I almost put Nirvana on this list.
If you would have put, so I think I would have really struggled. If you would have put Blink 182, because I did not like them in high school, but I love them now as an adult. And I went, wow, like what a change. Didn't like them in high school, but yeah, we had like all the, I don't know. When I was growing up, it was all the like the crying punk at that time, and so you had like your Dashboard Confessionals, who, you know, all the girls loved, and they, you know, it was when men could wear eyeliners and it was attractive.
Yeah, like me and
Rob
Ward
Wise
made
saying
that.
Foo Fighters. I would have kept Foo Fighters in a heartbeat. One of my favorite bands is Foo Fighters, for sure. And ironically, their lead guitarist was also the drummer for Nirvana. Facts.
Well, it's fun watching the comments because you know what genre.
Oh sure.
It ages you. We were coming back from.
See, does it age you though?
It does.
If you just told me that music transcends, does it age you?
I believe it does. I would like to ask.
How? So we had one difference, and there was a 10-year difference 11-year difference between us.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let's call it so our young adult age, the Jackson Roads of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not millennials. What would be the next one? Gen
Gen Z, I
Gen
guess.
Zs. So
Gen identify as.
Gen Z. You're not gonna bait me, man. You're not gonna
Gens-
bait me.
You just talked about identity on Sunday.
I did, and I stayed away from the politics of it. The mental condition that you think you're something and you're not. Anyway, Gen Z. Would Gen Z know the Beatles? Would they know
Oh, sure.
one song?
So I would say, would they be able to like tell you this is the Beatles and the name of the song? No. But would they be able to sing it if it came on? I bet it was a yes.
See, that's what I question is would Gen Z know the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, or would they know the Beach Boys?
Rolling
Heard
Stones,
of them all, yes, but would you know
I
anything
bet
about
Rolling
them?
Stones as well, because I feel like everybody knows Satisfaction.
Yeah,
Ain't no satisfaction. But Beach Boys, oh, that would be a tough one.
because you're really starting to get back in the 60s.
Well, yeah, Beach Boys in their
50s,
in their
were
heyday.
they 50s?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't-
I loved me some Beach Boys.
I would have to ask Miss Bunny when was the first time she heard the Beach Boys. But I think it does age you. I think language ages you, and
Sure.
I think music ages you. Like I said, I really kind of got stuck in that 80s, 90s, even
Oh, yeah.
in country music. We have Sirius, so I
Sure.
listen to like that prime country, and I can still sing all the 90s and 80s country songs. Garth Brooks and all them were, Aaron Tippin, Alan Jackson, that whole genre. But I have transcended in the country world because there's a lot of modern country artists
yeah.
I like. And but rock, I stopped in the 80s, 90s.
It's, well, yeah.
I couldn't tell you any of the songs really from, like, I don't listen to modern rock.
Yeah, I would have picked up probably 90s in rock. It would have been 90s to 2000. And I think anytime you start listening to 90s rock, you just kind of naturally get introduced to some of the older, some
80s, yeah.
Aerosmith, some Skynyrd, some other stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I think the other night we were leaving Hell County and we were talking about slang. And so my wife was Googling years of slang. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you could identify your slang
oh, yeah.
by what decade you were, and I found out that I speak fluent 90s.
Were you a big fan of Saved by the Bell?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
Saved by the Bell was huge. I grew up with TV shows, like old school TV shows, but
We
modern shows that I watch, Saved by the Bell, and I already know my buddy that I eat breakfast with often is going to mock me profusely for this statement. But Beverly Hills 90210 was huge in my day. So.
Luke Perry fan.
Luke Perry was
Yep.
big in the 90s.
Were you a Zach or Slater?
I was Zach all day.
Really?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's funny because I was a jock, but I'm just not. Slater to me is your prototypical kind of meathead guy, and
Sure.
I'm just not. I'm not into
Yeah,
that.
I'll have to send you some. I have some stuff you'll like about
Yeah, I'm
Zach Morris.
Big Saved by the Bell. Watched probably every episode of it.
Mm.
Saved by the Bell, Dukes of Hazzard, 90210. Those were just kind of the shows I watched.
Those were the ones.
But see, I grew up watching John Wayne and listening
Oh,
to
sure.
George Strait and Alan Jackson. So,
Yeah,
but-
we just started watching Seventh Heaven again.
oh, wow.
That was I grew up watching Seventh Heaven, and so
Well, it was funny when my daughter came in, she saw like Fuller House. So Fuller
yeah.
House was,
Now they
Tim
have-
Allen, Tim the Tool Man. Like,
oh yeah,
there was even a show called Alf.
oh yeah,
The alien Alf.
Mhm.
So I watched a lot of those shows, but my daughter came in, she was like, Dad, can I watch Fuller House? And I was like, it's Full House. She's like, no, it's Fuller House.
it's the next
It's
step.
the next generation.
Yep.
So they came out.
It's
with
kind
that.
of
So-
we also started watching that '90s show. So there was that '70s show, and now they have that '90s
that
show.
90s show. I
on
didn't,
Netflix. We
see, even
watched
my
that one.
TV shows, I'm stuck in the 90s.
Sure.
Greatest
Sure.
shows ever, Seinfeld and Friends.
I don't know about Seinfeld, but
That's you're communistic. But I was going to talk about
Yeah.
slang, but Cassie's ignoring me this morning.
oh, of course she is.
So, because I wanted the site that would talk about the slang that you use,
Sure.
and you and I would be different.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a 10
That
year.
goes by decade, I believe.
I grew up. I would have been a 2000s. Like my high school was in early 2000s, so I graduated high school 2005. So that would have put, in my prime years, that would have been 99 to 05 would have been.
I think I figured out I was really older when I can't decipher what my teenagers are saying.
Oh yeah.
Like they're using words now that I'm like, that makes zero sense. Like I understand the word,
Right.
but it doesn't fit in the context of the sentence.
In
but
which
now it
they're
means
using.
something different.
Yeah. Well, a couple. Not months
Keezy,
ago,
no cap. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I still don't understand what cap and no cap. I'm with you. Cap meant something different.
Cap meant you shot somebody.
Yeah.
Like, because I was on the front end of that, like, Gangster's Paradise
like,
rap,
yeah.
that 80s, 90s rap, Beastie Boys kind of Two Live Crew
Beastie
stuff.
Boys would have been a good one to pick.
Yeah.
I feel like the word we probably used most was "that's tight," like meaning at school. It's tight. Like I feel like that's what we used a lot.
We
back
used,
in the day.
Like, I don't even, Cassie was rattling off the 90s, and she's like, you still say this, you still say this, you still say this. And I realized that I was a 90s guy.
Yeah, well, and I'd be curious what our audience's lingo they used in high school. Like, what was the most popular lingo? Like, you felt like everyone said when you were in high school. I'd be interested in that. I feel like ours was tight. Man, that's what I feel like it was. Had to be.
I don't even really remember what our slang was. When she was reading them, I was like, oh, wow. I'm going to come back to this next week. I'm going to find that site she was on by decade. Because it was funny, because as she started going through it, I was like, wow. It really was literally by decade. Slang words by generation. X, Y, and Z blog.
Yeah, I don't know. And I feel like, I feel like it was 6 months, 8 months ago. We did old school here, and we had the kids tell us what their lingo was, and then we had our back row people try to decipher what it meant.
Yeah.
And I went like drip. I still don't quite understand what drip is.
Yeah, it has something to do with your clothes. It means you're dressed really nice, but your drip is fit. I had somebody come up and tell me that.
Your drip is fit means you're dressed really nice, right? Your drip is just how you dress.
I don't even know.
I don't know. This is all for Hunter to decide.
Yeah, my wife just sent me 90s slang, talk to the hand.
Oh, yeah.
We were the original put your palm up when somebody was annoying you.
That was a popular one.
The term as if, that was a little more of a Valley Girl type,
Sure.
I didn't use that. But one of the best ones, booyah. I still use that. Like when Alabama scores on TV, booyah.
That's your thing.
With the Brett Favre Superman, but booyah is still a huge
Discount
word.
double check.
That's right. Scrub.
Oh yeah.
You're a scrub.
Some Destiny Child. Yeah.
The term not. So somebody would say something, you'd be like, not.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. It was very annoying. Monet. I don't even know what that.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Oh yeah. Not all right, but
Yep.
That was huge.
I feel like that's very Vanilla Ice-esque.
It is very dun 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 dun.
Which he was, I really enjoyed Vanilla Ice, and he was in one of my favorite '90s movies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #2, Secret of the Ooze. He was at the very end. Go ninja, go ninja, go!
Yeah.
I feel like I could still do the dance.
Well, you're a rap guy. Do you recognize the terminology crunk?
Oh yeah.
Crunk, don't come to at least midnight. That's when the party gonna get crunk.
Oh yeah.
And then whatever.
Oh yeah.
Which that one's made a resurgence because my kid. It's funny to watch them with their mom because they'll say something, and then or mom will say something and they'll say what, and so she'll start to repeat herself, and then they go ever. And I'm like, I watch the look cross.
You can see the blood boiling.
Yeah, she
the mercury
around.
rising.
It is. She jokes around with them a lot, but when they do that with her, it makes me. But there's several of them. There's what and ever, and then there's who cares, and then there's something else. Fly, to fly for. That's hella.
Yeah.
Was ours getting jiggy. And my
getting jiggy with
still, when we go to daddy-daughter dance.
Some Will Smith, yeah.
We're going to get jiggy with it.
Yeah.
Sup, that's ours. Bugging out is ours. I'm going to open up a can of. That is one that
that was.
Dad's used.
That was the height of Great wrestling.
Great wrestling, WWE.
Yep.
You Go Girl.
We got some here in the chat. Da Bomb, Tight, Word,
Yep, Word.
Que Pasa.
Que Pasa, yep.
You got that burnt biscuit feeling.
I don't even know what that means, but I like it. I'm going to use that and out of context because I don't know what it means. All that in a bag of chips.
Oh, yeah.
What I call every kid in this church, and they go home and tell their parents, and they're mortified that the pastor uses the term fart knocker.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that, 90s slang. I didn't even know where I got it. Kick him to the curb if you're going to dump somebody, and what's up, home skillet. I still use
okay.
that. So
I mean, I can understand all those. Those bring back some memories.
it does, walking down memory lane. So keep cut. You know, I think music identifies your generation. We're starting a new series this week.
We are. We
And
just finished up No Excuses. You feel like you got what you wanted across?
I do. I walked out of this one going, I feel like it was communicated the way we wanted it to be communicated. Living the life, no excuses.
Sure.
Identifying it and then practical. I think that my issue in different styles of preaching, for me personally,
Sure.
in style that I use, but in the style of a church I would go to as well, is I need it to be practical. How is this going to, how can you use it on Tuesday? I mean, I get the line by line stuff and the intellect movement in the young reformed world, but at the end of the day, if you can't use it, if it's not relevant, to me, it's just a class. And I mean, I've been through enough class to last me a lifetime.
There's something about being able to apply.
Yeah, it's application. It's I need you to teach me something out of God's word that I can use on Tuesday or Thursday or in my marriage or with my kids or, you know, that it's just a style difference. But I do feel like No Excuses landed well. Got a lot of feedback on it.
Yeah.
This one will be interesting coming up because it is urban legends, but it's the things that we grew up hearing or believing.
Yep.
This is going to step on some toes.
Good.
It's kind of fun for me because it's a little bit of a poke the bear series.
Well, you love those.
It is. It's Christian terms or things that we've grown up believing that aren't really biblical. They sound good and they're close, but they're not biblical.
I still think you should use some movies as your like bumper video and just going like, it wasn't Luke, I am your father. Like, what was it? How do you remember it from Star Wars?
I remember it, Luke, I am your father. But that wasn't it, was it?
He said, I'm your father.
Oh, see?
Yep.
That's the difference. They
yeah, just little things. I guess that's now called like the Mandela effect or whatever it is. Like people remember things that may not have actually been there, but
they remember it as that.
They remember it as that, and you just go, huh? Like what a weird. But like you need a bigger boat from Jaws. I don't think that's what he said.
Yeah, it's those things that, you know, like we're going to start out this week in God won't give you more than you can handle.
Oh, somebody just posted that in the chat.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
God will never give you more than you can handle. David, correct. That is actually what we're preaching about this week. It's what we're going to be teaching on, talking about storms. And we live in this church world where it's like, oh, God won't give you more than you can handle. That's not accurate. That's not anywhere in the Bible. And as a matter of fact, the Bible shows stories that go directly against that statement.
Well,
it's like wearing dress clothes is what you need to do. Pet peeve of mine.
It makes me think of Meshach and Abednego stepping into the furnace, and I go, surely God didn't go, hey, I need you to step into this furnace so you can handle it.
Correct. Correct. Throwing Daniel in the lion's den. We're not going to give you more than you can handle. Put me in the lion's den, it's probably more than I can handle.
Absolutely.
It's probably more than I can
100%.
But it is that statement that you just go, nah, and what they get it, and we're going to show the verse that they get it from.
Sure.
And it's just a misinterpreted verse, but it's basically those things that, you know, you grow up, you got to wear dress clothes to church. I heard a story yesterday talking about a guy who had done kind of like a night of worship deal. The Holy Spirit was in the worship. It was great, big altar movement, great feeling, great vibe. And a guy walked up to him, to the worship leader afterwards, and was like, "Hey, it was great."
I saw this video, and I almost sent it to you.
But you need to wear khakis.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, where? As a matter of fact, Scripture actually teaches: do not dress up, do not adorn yourself, so that those who would be a stumbling block. And it talks about it in
well, he makes the
opposite.
reference in going, "Don't be a stumbling block," and if that means I need to wear khakis, that's what I need to wear.
Sure.
But
if I went and preached at a First Baptist church on a Sunday morning, I would have a coat and slacks on. I would not wear a tie. I don't, unless I'm doing a wedding or a funeral and they request it. I'll wear a tie a lot of times for a funeral.
I agree with you on that. If they request a tie, I will begrudgingly wear it. But I much prefer not to.
Yeah, and I don't mind wearing the suit without the tie. But
absolutely.
But like for a church, I go, it's not a requirement. It's not anywhere in Scripture. As a matter of fact, it teaches against it. However, if I went into somebody else's house, I'm going to try my best to be who I am, but yet respect their, whatever
absolutely.
traditions or whatnot. But it's not biblical. And what they'll say is, well, it's a respect thing. I had somebody look at me one time, and they were talking to me about my choice of attire. And they said, you need to dress for church the way you would dress if the president walked in here. To which I responded, if the president walked in here, I would still be wearing what I'm wearing today.
Right.
I don't I'll respect them with their title. And I'll respect them just as being a human being and as a man. I just don't get impressed with a lot of people. So to compare the way I approach God and the president, or like I'm not a big politician fan. I think if you put all your hope on a politician, you're setting yourself up for a disaster, especially
100%.
in today's culture. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They can't save us as a nation, and the Bible doesn't say that either. I mean, we could talk about that. Everybody puts their hope on a presidential candidate, and the Bible doesn't say the king is going to save you.
We can talk a lot about the government, and I'm just not local, state, or nationally. I'm not very happy, but
well, you were sounding off this morning before a little bit. The tax increase. We're going to go a little bit local.
Yeah, very local.
It's
not even Tuscaloosa City.
My kids are even asking about it because there's yard signs that have popped up in the north side area all over the place. It says
no or yes.
No, they're all no. I've not seen one yes.
Interesting.
And being in basketball games for the last couple of weeks, ever since we got that mass text of, hey, come to the meeting to find out I have listened in the basketball stands. I don't talk a lot when I'm in public, but the listening has been amusing because the past 2 games they have talked about this new tax.
Yep.
And they're asking for us to vote in a new property tax.
Correct.
And that's Tuscaloosa County only.
Just county.
Just county. So a new property.
City schools already have much higher taxing. So
Shayna's asking me what kind of reaction would I get if I showed up to preach at TWCC wearing a suit and tie. I've actually done that a couple of times, more for a stage example than anything. But I have worn just a coat.
Yep.
With my jeans and boots or whatever, and I have wore the coat and slacks with my shirt untucked and a button up. And every single time I've wore a suit coat, at least 3 people have asked me if I'm resigning.
I get a comment about wearing pants every Sunday.
Yeah, it's like, why are you in pants? Because you're not a pants guy, you'd wear shorts.
No, I'd wear shorts all year round.
And so, it's that, exactly. It's this weird, odd thing. But the county tax, are you for it? Now, the reason I'm asking this, so a lot of our listeners don't know your wife, and I know she hates me and talked about, so we won't say Clarissa's name on the radio, but your wife works in the school system as an assistant principal, or what do they call them now? Is it APs?
Yeah, she's
okay. So we call them vice principal again, 90s terminology.
Yeah, I think her signage on her thing says vice principal, but she calls herself an assistant principal.
Okay, so she's an AP in the school system, and this tax
former teacher
is very specifically for school improvements, I take it. Why don't you tell us real quick what the tax is supposed to do or be?
Well, it's for all those physical improvement. I'm not saying we don't need physical improvements. It's also, we have some schools that should be shut down due to physical issues.
Sure.
And it's going to, well, that's what they say. It's going to expedite that plan and make it better for that. And it's also supposed to help. I think the way they have it built is that your flow pattern will be easier. Because, like, right now, when we were in the apartments, we would have sent Quinn to Northport Elementary, to Huntington Place, to Northport Intermediate, to Eccles, to County High. And now it would be like Northport Intermediate, or it would be, I think they would keep it the same, Northport Elementary, Huntington Place, NIS, and then on to the high school. And so they would cut Eccles out of that feeder pattern, which is great for us because it saves me trying to figure out how to get Quinn from Fossa Vestavia and then go get Paisley from Eccles. But so it's supposed to do things like that, and I think it's a new elementary school
It's
for
a new
Northside.
intermediate school, I believe. It's either an elementary or an intermediate school. I can't remember which, but yeah, when I was reading through this is what it's going to benefit.
Physically, I go Northside needs.
Oh my God, it's stupid. The fact they've only got one, and let me say this on the front end, I love Walker Elementary.
Sure.
My daughter goes there. It is, to me, probably one of the greatest elementary schools we've been a part of as a family with, 4 or 5 kids going up through the school system. I believe Walker's been the best. There was one in Missouri called Kirbyville that was amazing, but they only went through the 2nd grade, something like that. But anyway, but I believe Walker's as good as it comes, but they are overwhelmed with kids. So Colton, when he came up into the 6th grade, they were the largest middle school class to come up.
Sure.
Every class after them has been larger than the class before them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking 3 years. So the last 3 classes to come up into Northside Middle have been bigger than the class before them, and they're out of room. They're actually building an addition to it, and I go over to Walker, and they've all got the trailers and stuff as classrooms, but they're just maxed out. And truth be told, the intersection of Samantha, it's insane between the high school. I do like the fact they're all kind of on one campus.
Sure.
But I believe this new tax will allow in the improvements or whatever, they're going to build a new school in the north side area. So part of me goes, I'm really excited about that. And I want to vote yes because I would love to have that new school up there. They need it.
Realistically, it's a nominal cost.
It is.
When you think about it. I think for a $200,000 home, they're saying it's $150. $150 across 12 months. 10 and change.
10 and change. Well, here's my issue. My issue isn't the $10 in tax.
No, that's not my issue either.
I would donate $10 a month right now to any school at Northside, to any Tuscaloosa school. I don't have a problem with the cost. It's a very minimal cost. My problem is in the state of Alabama, we have a massive surplus.
$2.3 billion. Estimated. Billion surplus in the education, just the education fund.
So I want to say, way to go.
Yeah, I want to say what a poor job you've done. You've withheld $2 billion from former students.
Oh yeah.
When we're at, and I don't believe the education rankings because I think they put too much emphasis on higher learning and higher education when it comes to degrees. That's why somewhere like Massachusetts ranks better than Alabama. But I go, we graduate more from high school in Alabama than Texas does.
Yeah. We graduate more from high school, and if you look at it from a trade school perspective.
For sure. That doesn't get counted in the education world.
The starting wage and the wage of Alabama actually ranks higher than some of your big hoity-toity education places. So I'd rather my kid come out of a 2-year school making 6 figures.
Well, I like that in Alabama. At least there's some great universities within Alabama. You got, obviously University of Alabama. Auburn's a great one. UAB.
Yep.
Troy.
Jack State.
Any of those, and you go, there's a wealth of great opportunity here for kids coming out of high school if they're not quite college ready and they want to come try and test the world, great. Go out there, make $20 an hour.
Yep.
You know, shoot, I could $20 an hour coming out of high school for me would have been.
Oh man,
taking that in a heartbeat.
Amazing. But I think I want to say way to go fiscally responsible.
Sure.
And the fact that, I mean, we have a national government that doesn't believe in balancing the budget and wants to raise the debt ceiling because we are now at 125% of our GDP, which means in the real world, we're underwater, but this left side has come up with a new economic.
Yep.
It's a new economic way of thinking of that. We no longer. It's just an arbitrary number. It's not even real. There is no real debt because everything's electronic and there's nothing backing it. Therefore, we're not really in debt.
Yeah, it just identifies as debt.
Yeah, it's like having a checkbook and saying you got money. I mean, it's not real money. It's a check. But there's literally, Nancy Pelosi champions this train of thought of there is no real debt because it's not backed by anything. So there's really no balancing a budget. You can spend what you want because it's crypto. Yep. It's just out there and it's crypto and stupid. So I want to say way to go with the fiscally responsible.
Sure.
But the backside of me sits there and really
super frustrated,
aggravated that we've got $2 billion but we can't spend it. So you're going to tax me more because you're not spending the tax money you've already taxed me on what you said you were taxing me for to begin with.
I asked Claire that exact question. I said, how do we have a $2 billion budget and y'all are asking us for more money? And she said, we're not allowed to spend that money. In fact, she said they had to send like $16 million back to the state for something.
Well, that's stupid.
And I just went,
we're being double taxed. That's my issue.
Well, that's the problem. I go, somehow we have and I feel like people hear $2 billion and they think it's this small sum now, because everybody has said billions and millions upon millions of billions and billions of dollars. $2 billion is a lot of money.
Well, that's
you think about all the students in the state. I guess they could all have. You could increase probably $10,000 just in their personal education fund.
Yeah, and that's my issue.
Why schools can't give free lunch? I don't understand. Don't get it. I'd give every free lunch to every kid who ever wanted it.
If you want food, take it.
Absolutely.
And that's my issue is you can be fiscally responsible, but to flip around and have to double tax because you're not using it on what you told us you were going to tax it on to begin with.
Well, they can't.
But it's for education.
Tuscaloosa County is prevented from using that fund to improve physical assets.
Well,
they can use it to buy things like textbooks. But I just got.
So we don't want our students in great buildings with modern technology. We want, and that to me is government red tape at its finest. That's my frustration.
Absolutely, it's regulations that don't need to be there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's Montgomery telling Tuscaloosa how it best can spend their money.
Yeah, and that drives me nuts.
Drives me crazy.
It's a lot like church.
Yes.
I'm just trying to segue into our next. I was going to call it pharisectomy. It's removing the inner Pharisee out of you, and what it is it's a bunch of denominations that are telling you how to do church, and a bunch of red tapes and hoops to jump through to get to Jesus that aren't just in the Bible.
Right.
Like clothes and where you sit in church. It's just dumb stuff. So, but we're going to talk about some big ones that we grew up believing. You know, God wants you happy. There's some other ones like my mess is cleaner than your mess.
So I'm more righteous.
The hierarchy of sin. I am more righteous and more above reproach.
Hierarchy of sin.
It's like prison. You got the hierarchy of crime. In church, you have the hierarchy of sin. When the Bible is very clear on that. But we're going to talk about those things. So
hierarchy of sin.
It'll be a lot of grass.
I'm interested in that one. You've piqued my interest.
Yeah, that's actually coming in week 2. But
oh well, perfect.
Yeah, so I don't even think I got to our whole list.
Well, you're gonna have to save it for next week
because
we're out of time.
Next week you're bringing the cut.
I'll bring you a keep cut. And I may change it up. I have one other one I want us to try. So
okay,
we'll mix it up a little bit.
So we got a new series starting. We got a new youth pastor starting he got really quiet on the feed after we mocked his band choice, but he's starting tonight.
Yeah, he started tonight. We had a great Sunday. A bunch of people joined the church.
49
Yep.
have signed up to join. We've got some more
And
walking
then-
up there this week.
Always awesome to have baptisms. That's always that's
Yep.
one of those times. I know we're doing the right thing is when we have people who want to get baptized.
Speaking of red tape, and write this down because I will not remember it
Oh,
next
gosh.
week. What as somebody who's not in church,
Mm-hmm.
because we look at it through the view of church, what is something in church that we do in church, I guess would be the verbiage that would keep you away from church.
Keep you away from church. Got it. Red
Yeah.
tape that keeps you away from church.
Yeah, so that'll tie into our urban legends. We're going to have Keep Cut next week, and we're going to discuss a little more in depth the Chiefs versus the Eagles. Because it's coming, and we
It's
got
coming.
Jalen Hurts, and he's a Bama
You
guy.
got and Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith is on there, so built by Bama.
Yeah.
So are we
Apparently.
done?
We're out of time.
Done and over, out of time. We will see you back next week.